WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, together with
Stewart Buchanan, and I am the global ambassador for GlenDronach, BenRiach and Glenglassaugh.
Don't you just love the way he says that? Wonderful, wonderful. Let's start off with GlenDronach. The 15-year-old's coming back. Yay! What happened?
We just, as more people know, the distillery was shut between 1996 and 2002.
Right.
So that's us now into that 15-year-old period, and I'm looking forward to get back out in the market, and it's going to be hugely well received as ever. So it's a phenomenal whiskey from the distillery.
It is. So we have the Revival, the Parliament, the 21-year-old is also a very, very nice whiskey, and your single casks are to die for, aren't they?
We're just so lucky. We really are. You know, you don't get many whiskies like that these days.
Yeah.
You know, the power of the Highlands,
Yeah.
the landscape is in that whiskey. You know, you can feel it, the richness, the depth, the darkness. It's just phenomenal. I'm very lucky.
And we are too as well. The GlenDronach 12-year-old is one of the very first whiskeys I recommend for any beginner to figure out what a sherry whiskey should taste like, what a really great whiskey for an affordable price actually as well. Wonderfully done. I love the GlenDronach. Now BenRiach is something I haven't had that often, to be very honest. I'm still on my journey. I'm still learning a lot about that. Now imagine I'm a beginner. What would you recommend from BenRiach for a beginner?
Well, do you know something? We can cover a lot of different palates. Actually, we can cover every palate in there, because historically BenRiach has been, not only in today's age, but going right back to the 60s, been very experimental. So we can give even maybe the new consumer to whiskey, this 10-year-old, which is flooding with apples, pears, again, American oak, vanillas, toffees, butterscotch. That is the easiest drinking classic Speyside style in the market. But then also, if somebody's maybe wanting to go for a peaty whiskey, we can cover that with the Curiositas, and also this lovely new expression. This has only been out for about 2 months, a Temporis, 21 years old. But everything about BenRiach is about elevating fruits. Yeah. Fruit. If you think about GlenDronach, dark, rich, heavier characters, BenRiach is almost reaching for the fruits all the time.
Very, very nice.
Apples, pears, you know, that lovely orchard fruit notes.
Yep. Gotcha. Very good. And now the third brand you have here today would be over here. What would be the characteristic here of this brand?
What I love about Glenglassaugh, and people ask me also looking at a comparative whiskey for it, I do not think there's another distillery like it. It sits right on the beach, and it's not the only coastal distillery, obviously, but there's so many things about that landscape that come from the land into the warehouse, into the production. High minerality of the waters, giving you all these esters through the fermentation, all these fruit compounds in distillation. It's got almost like a microflora interaction from the landscape, giving you a deeper note in the beer. Even the still shapes are quite odd. They're very, very wide, very broad stills. So it actually makes the sweetest, I think, new make spirit I've ever tasted in my life. Wow. And very barley forward.
Yeah.
And in the combination we have here, we're using American oak in this evolution. Yeah. The Torfa is peated. Yeah. Both of those are actually at 50 proof. Sorry, 50 ABV, 100 proof. But it doesn't.
Yes, remember Americans. I'm sorry.
It doesn't feel that way. And again, it's so easy to drink, even at that 100 proof. Then the lovely little rock star of Revival at the end. That's a combination. As you can see in this richer colour, we're using roughly a combination. Well, not even 1/3, but we're using American oak, sherry, and also red wine. And that just changes that fruit complexity in the middle. Also gives us a bit of tannins from the red wine cask, which is going to give a contrast to the sweetness. Unusual, funky, little rock star of a whiskey. Little rock star of a distillery, in fact.
Something I haven't really discovered yet, which is on my list of things to do.
You need to try it. You need to try it.
Just too many different types of whiskeys out there, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
From there to there, we've got something for everybody.
You do. Very good. What can we expect in the future? Anything happening there? I mean, Brown-Forman took over a little bit and maybe wanted to change some stuff.
Well, no, actually, the great thing is actually managing to get Rachel Barry to join us. Now, Rachel is regarded as one of the top tier, whiskey blenders in the world. And these are testament to her. She's gone into the warehouse, all the casks of the foundation of the previous owners. She's now got, I think, one of the biggest, larders of casks, ingredients to choose from. And the way she brings these whiskies together is phenomenal. She's good at layering different characters, whether that's from the sweet to the spice to the length. The layering she puts into whiskey is phenomenal. And I think these two are a great example of that. these two are really her first dive into the warehouse, bringing her own, I think, personal palate to BenRiach, which has gone down very well.
So the 21-year-old BenRiach, what's so special about the forecast maturation?
So forecast maturation, BenRiach loves American oak, just to keep that lovely fruit intensity. It doesn't like to be overly sherried, because you want to keep the fruit-forward personality. So in there, we're using bourbon barrels. Now I always think bourbon barrels for that sweetness, the start of the dram. Bit of virgin oak, enough to give you a little bit of spice from that toasting of the virgin oak. But very uniquely in here, she's got a little touch of red wine, and that red wine just changes that fruit complexity from maybe orchard fruits to a wee red berry note, and then the sherry element just gives you the balance and the length and the richness. So beautiful balance here, but classic Speyside, even though we're using a lot of different cask styles in there.
What I think is just amazing is you have a virgin oak 21-year-old.
Well, actually, going back to the 1980s, Seagram's, who owned the distillery previously, they filled virgin oak back then. We had some fully matured virgin oak, and even the peated whiskies go back to the 1970s under the Glenlivet ownership. Even later on in the 90s, they made triple distillation at BenRiach, and then also when the BenRiach company was founded in 2004, we had many different wood finishes. So there's so many casks for Rachel now to choose from and build that palette. It's a master blender's dream.
Very good. Now, just the contrast to 21-year-old would be, of course, the no age statements. Are they a blessing or a curse in your personal opinion? They can be both.
They could be both. I think, again, looking at our cask strengths here and here, we do keep these non-aged because that versatility that Rachel will have to select the small amount of barrels into that mix. And again, these are very small batch. You know, they're handcrafted, maybe 9-12 casks each time. So that gives us flexibility. What a lot of people forget about, I always refer back to even the 1960s and beyond, and prior to that, if you were buying single malts, you know, back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you were buying non-aged statements. You were buying 8-year-old would be an old whiskey, you know. So even people who think nowadays that these age statements are too young, that's the way whiskey used to be. So it's actually only since maybe the 80s and beyond that then age statements were the norm. Historically, they were always out there. As long as they're good value for money, that's what I think. Value for money is the main thing. As long as the consumer pays for that palette and he's happy with the price, I'm happy.
Me too, by the way, but I just love someone who says, back then in the 60s. It does show.
I wasn't about then.
I know, but still, just talking about then the 40s, 50s, and 60s, I just love that comparison. Very, very good. Now, can we expect something in the future that you're allowed to talk about?
Well, actually, today, we're in WhiskyHerbst Berlin today, and my masterclass in about 2 hours' time, we're going to try the first time outside of the distillery, we're going to try the new launch of a 12-year-old BenRiach. So that's going to be on my masterclass. One bottle of that just to kind of highlight that for the show. And that's a beautiful return of a 12-year-old statement. Again, with Rachel's personality. So I'm looking forward to the feedback. Oh, I know that's fantastic. I know. But I'm looking forward to that feedback today.
All right. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American here in Berlin today at the WhiskyHerbst 2018 together with
Stewart Buchanan.
All the best. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers. Fantastic. You've done that before.